Good afternoon, Chairman, members.
Good afternoon.
My name is Maggie Luna, and I am with the Statewide Leadership Council, and I am for this bill.
Representing yourself as well?
Representing myself as well, yes.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you. So in 2021, when the pandemic hit, this kind of became brought to our attention, and we issued a press release about the planning that we did not see happening because of the pandemic. I served time in Dayton during Hurricane Harvey. When that storm hit, there was a plan for the farm animals, for the farm equipment. The warden came in once the rain started getting hard, and she said, if the roof blows off, grab your mattress and run to the bathroom. And we were all terrified. The lights went out. The air stopped moving. The toilets were in the middle of the dorm with 54 women, and the fumes were toxic. All the air stopped moving. And I looked at my bunkie and I was like, this is not the face that I want to see in my last days. I was in there for possession of less than a gram. My time was almost over, and I was terrified that I was going to not make it out. The lights went out, the electricity, the phones, nothing. I couldn't even contact my families. But the guards were also stuck there. They were there for days without being able to leave the property. And we all were in a state of, we didn't know what was happening. My family didn't know what was happening. They were told that we were being taken care of, we were being evacuated, but then all of the entrances were blocked off. They couldn't get to us. And so it took us days to get everything back to where we could even make phone calls. They didn't feed us for the first 48 hours because they didn't know how to handle what was expected. Once we finally did get fed, we got a sandwich, and then a few hours later, they came in with a hot meal. All that to say, there was a plan for the farm animals, and we were just left to fend for ourselves. And the officers suffered with us. So this is just a board that would create recommendations that would help in case of emergency. There's a state plan that would create a plan for the inmates to be used in case of emergency, but there's no plan to protect these inmates. I've said this before, 95% of us do come home. We don't get death sentences, we don't get life sentences, and we all have families that are affected in the community. So this is just something that would help make sure that we come home not as traumatized and able to reenter society in case of emergency. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions, members? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon again, Chairman and committee members. My name is Marcy Simmons. I'm here representing myself, Linus Justice Impacted Women's Alliance, and Statewide Leadership Council. I'm testifying in favor of House Bill 1446. I was incarcerated during the pandemic when COVID hit, sir, and to say the least, there was no preparation. The staff was not prepared to handle that crisis. You guys know the numbers of how many staff members passed away and how many inmates passed away. When that pandemic first hit, they were still they locked us down, no phones, no day room. We were confined to our cubicle or our cells, but the kitchen was still running, and the kitchen workers the kitchen workers employ people from all different dorms. So they were still mixing germs that way. And I just think, obviously, if there was a plan in place, that would have been prevented. Additionally, at the end of my sentence, I was housed in Dayton, Texas, when we were in path of a hurricane. And the major came and told us to pack our belongings, whatever, a small amount that we could take, that we were going to be evacuated. Hours later, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't have radios, no news. And she came back and said, "Ladies, I'm so sorry. They're not evacuating us, and we just don't have anywhere to go." And that major she was a very good person, and she said, I'm staying here with y'all. I'm staying on the unit, and I'm going to say my prayers, and I encourage you all to do the same. So that's all I have today, sirs.
Very good. Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure.
Any questions, members? Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Brittany Pokorski. I'm here today representing Statewide Leadership Council and myself. I'm in favor of House Bill 1446 because when I was younger, my mother was incarcerated in Dayton, Texas at the Plain State Jail when a hurricane had hit. My family and I saw on the news that Dayton, Texas and the surrounding cities were all evacuating. Obviously, we were real worried about my mom. I remember my dad and my grandparents trying to get a hold of someone in TDCJ to check on the status of my mom's whereabouts and safety. Finally, when my dad finally got somebody on the phone, they assured us that all the inmates had been evacuated and were out of harm's way. When in fact, when the hurricane had hit, they weren't. We were all watching the news footage and seeing how bad everything was building, how everything was bad, and how the buildings were demolished and houses demolished, and we were so grateful that my mother had been evacuated. We didn't hear from my mother for a few months after that, and we couldn't find her in the system at all. My dad starting to get worried because he was looking her up with her TDCJ number, and it wasn't showing anything, and there was nobody answering the phones at the prison she was at. When we finally got a message from my mom letting us know that she was safe, but she was still in Dayton, we were confused. Months later, when we were able to visit her, she explained to us that they had actually never been evacuated, that she was in prison when the storm hit. She told us that the officers before the storm hit, advised them to write their goodbye letters to their family, and she had composed letters to all of us, which we never received. She told us how the warden came in and said she was going home for the night, and she told the inmates to get right with their higher powers because she didn't know what was going to happen if the prison would still be there the next morning. It's scenarios just like this is why it's important for House Bill 1446 to get pushed through, so there are plans of action in place to save human life. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, members? Thank you so much.